Yeah, my name is Iwan Bala and originally from Bala in North Wales, hence the name. And I've spent a lot of time in Cardiff ever since I was a student there in the 70s, and a bit of time in Oxford, travelled to Zimbabwe, exhibited there, and then in China, had a few exhibitions abroad. Now living in Cefneithin in the Gwyndraeth Valley, about an hour away from here, the other side of Carnarvon, where I've got a studio set up. So my work generally is politically motivated in a way, a lot to do with Welsh identity, Welsh political and cultural issues. And following the period of COVID lockdown and Brexit and all these things, I've been doing a lot of political cartoons which I was putting on Facebook and exhibiting certain shows, and I was in a way thinking how I could get away from that. And then I realised that because I'd bought this new house, I had started purchasing off eBay a lot of African artifacts, masks mainly, with some figures. The first one I had bought many years ago, well, I bought about 4, in Butetown History and Arts Museum in Cardiff Bay now. Unfortunately, it's no longer there. And I found out what happens and how these masks end up, how these artifacts end up here, is that a lot of these countries, like New Guinea, Nigeria, it's all written in the drawings, where Christian sects have taken over and people have kind of stopped using these ritual objects, spiritual or ritual objects, and they didn't need them anymore, and the issue was that they would probably burn them, and they made of wood, destroy them. So some entrepreneurs from Africa itself decided they would ship them to Britain or Europe in containers and bring containers of stuff back from Europe. The people in the villages, in the bush, in these areas would want or asked for, actually. And I remember, this connects with another story of being in Bessemer Road, the car boot sale, and seeing an African man with 2 big suitcases pulling them behind him and buying all the high-heeled shoes he could find and putting them in the case. So that's how these things have ended up here. And it crosses my mind, of course, that it's a kind of appropriation of having these in your house. We're in a totally different culture. But my only excuse is that if there was no value at all for them, and they're very reasonably priced for what I think is, a work of art, a work of modern art from the 20th century, which has inspired European art and international art ever since. So I kind of feel that they're being rescued and they're in the house and people see them. But even better, I have this idea then of to get back to this notion of what was I going to do after all these political cartoons, was to start drawing these masks as I was buying them. And my partner at the time was living with me in Cefneithin and always had vases of fresh flowers. So the flowers and the masks and the sculptures became conjoined. So it does make a kind of political statement, but it's a very subliminal one, if you like, about culture, how we're influenced by different cultures, and it makes you think about modernism in a different way. Reminds me a lot of paintings from the early 20th century, but also is about post-colonialism in a way. Yeah, so that's how I ended up doing this, and the idea of putting the masks with the work came to me after being invited to show in this beautiful space, and the idea of a kind of an ethnographic museum, which when I put the pictures up on Facebook, that's what I called it, Adre, which is my home, the name of the house, Ethnographic Museum. And then, because the house had become like a museum, you know, it's full of these things everywhere you look. Figures as well, which aren't here. But yeah, over the years then, you know, before that I had always collected things. I mean, since I had a residency in Harare in Zimbabwe, had stone sculptures from there and prints and various things from Papua New Guinea. But it's escalated when I found these on eBay and having boxes every week. So that's the story behind this exhibition in a way. Yeah, I mean I could get more academic about it if I needed to, but I think they are what they are, you know, and people will, maybe they're more colourful, they're more sort of balanced in a way as drawings than the cartoonish, politically, you know, rather savage ones that I was doing before. So it gave me a calming down thing.